no Dr. X in this movie. There is also no revenge. Let me say that again. The film you are about to watch is called The Revenge of Dr. X. There is not one character in this film named Dr. X. There is no act of revenge committed by anyone, toward anyone, for any reason, at any point across this 94-minute runtime. And in some prints, the opening credits that you see, they're for completely different movies. A 1968 Filipino horror film called The Mad Doctor of Blood Island that has absolutely nothing to do with what you're about to watch. And yet, somehow, what you're watching is genuinely fascinating. It is a strange, sun-soaked, storm-lit fever dream of a film featuring a NASA scientist's complete psychological collapse, an abandoned mountain resort with a hunchback caretaker, a carnivorous plant graft experiment that takes its inspiration from both Frankenstein and the collected works of a man who once made a film about a flying saucer made out of pie plate. This is Revenge of Dr. X, or Venus Flytrap, or Body of the Prey, or Ukuma no Niwa, or The Devil Gurt, or The Double Gurt. Take your pick. Whatever you want to call it, it is one of the most bewildering, mislabeled, misattributed, miss-everything films in the history of B cinema. And we are going to dig all the way into it today. Every misdirected credit, every ghost screenplay, every wasted career moment, every glorious absurdity of its plot, and the whole strange afterlife that turned a forgotten Japanese-American co-production found in a warehouse without opening titles into a cult film beloved by bad movie fans worldwide. I'm Felix Lubezki. This is SL Tonight. Let's get into it.
It seems to be veering off in this direction, see? Now, if the wind velocity holds at its present reading, that will give us just enough time. Paul, proceed as scheduled.
Before we talk about the film, we have to talk about the title problem, because it's one of the great mysteries of home video distribution. The film was shot in 1966, primarily in Japan. It was distributed in Japan by the Toei Company, one of Japan's major film studios, under the title Ukuma no Niwa, which translates to The Devil's Garden. It had a limited Japanese release. Then it appeared in some markets as The Double Garden. The working title used by the production was Body of the Prey. The screenwriter-director listed it on his own credits as Venus Flytrap. So that's already 4 titles before anyone in America got their hands on it. Sometime in the 80s, the film was acquired by a company called Regal Video for VHS release. And here's where the story becomes either a crime against cinema or a work of accidental genius, depending on your perspective.
True.
The print Regal Video received had no opening credits. None. The movie just started. And rather than produce new credits for the film, which would have required research, money, and a small amount of effort, because, AI didn't exist then, whoever was responsible for this release made a fateful decision. They took the opening credits from a 1968 Filipino horror film called The Mad Doctor of Blood Island, directed by Eddie Romero and Jerry De Leon, and starring John Ashley and Angelique Pettyjohn, and spliced them onto the front of this entirely different movie. This is like if you ordered a pizza and someone put a box of cereal in the pizza box and sealed it. And honestly, that film, if it's available, I'll do a deep dive on that too. Just let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. The result is that for years, for actual decades, people trying to identify this film were led into a maze. The credits said one movie, the cast was different. The story was completely different. The country was different. Researchers identified the director as Kenneth G. Crane because Crane had directed The Manster, another American-Japanese co-production from 1959, and the assumption was that this must be his too. It was not. When the film ended up in Mill Creek's 50-movie Chilling Classics DVD pack in 2005, one of those budget compilation sets sold at gas stations that contained approximately every public domain horror film ever made, it had the wrong credits, the wrong director attribution, and the wrong title. Millions of people watched it under those false pretenses. To this day, if you search this film carelessly, you will find 3 or 4 different names, 2 different directors, 2 different release years on IMDb, and a cast list that includes people who were in a completely different movie. Digging out the truth of what this film actually is took some work. Let's do that work.
You've been at this 365 days a year for 5 years. You're tired. We need men like you with your...
The most famous name attached to the Revenge of Dr. X on Venus Flytrap, which is what we're going to call it from here on because that was the actual production title, is Edward D. Wood Jr. Yes, that Ed Wood. Edward Davis Wood Jr., born October 10, 1924, in Poughkeepsie, New York, is perhaps the most complicated figure in the history of American cinema. He was a Marine who served in the Pacific during World War II, a transvestite who was nevertheless open about it during an era when that required real courage, a passionate and tireless filmmaker who never made a film anyone considered good, and a human being whose complete and total sincerity in the face of incompetence is either heartbreaking or inspiring depending on how you look at it. Wood made Glenn or Glenda in 1953, a semi-autobiographical film about transvestitism that he wrote, directed, and starred in, which made virtually no sense as a narrative but contains genuine emotional truth. He made Bride of the Monster in 1955 with Bela Lugosi, the aging horror legend with whom Wood had touching and strange friendship in the last years of Lugosi's life. He made Plan 9 from Outer Space in 1957, which was finally released in 1959, one of the most famous bad movies ever made, featuring cardboard flying saucers, footage of Bela Lugosi shot days before his death, and spliced with a much taller chiropractor standing in for him with a cape over his face. Plan 9 from Outer Space. You know one Ed Wood film, that's the one you know. In 1980, after Wood had died in poverty at age 54, December 10, 1978, had been evicted from his apartment and drinking himself to death in a friend's apartment in Hollywood. He was posthumously awarded the Golden Turkey Award for Worst Director of all time. The award was meant as an insult. Instead, it launched a cultural rehabilitation. People started watching the films not just to mock them, but to love them. In 1994, Tim Burton directed Ed Wood, starring Johnny Depp and Martin Landau, which won the 2 Academy Awards and permanently cemented Wood's legacy as a tragic American original. But here's the thing about Ed Wood that gets forgotten in all the camp celebration. He wrote constantly. He wrote novels, short stories, screenplays, magazine articles. He wrote 80 lurid pulp novels beginning in the early 1960s. He wrote scripts that nobody filmed. He kept a curriculum vitae, a formal professional resume that he kept updated even in the depths of his decline. Still optimistic enough to be listing credits for anyone who might hire him next. And it is from that CV, shared with a young filmmaker named Fred Olin Ray in 1978, just before Wood's death, that we know Ed Wood wrote a script called Venus Flytrap, Japan. He listed it, he claimed it, it's on his resume. He's on his own resume. There. The screenplay was written sometime in the early to mid 1950s. Wood had tried to sell it to Professor Ron Orman in 1954 without success. The concept was a mad scientist creating a monster from plant life using lightning, very much in the tradition of Frankenstein, which Wood loved. A man-made creature animated by unnatural forces, but with plants. And in the Wood tradition, the execution of the concept would have been wonderfully, sincerely deranged. It is worth noting that Wood never participated in the actual production of the film. He sold or licensed the screenplay. The production was taken over by someone else. Wood is not credited anywhere in the film, and given that most of the cast and crew were based in Japan or in Los Angeles circles Wood wasn't connected to, he probably never met anyone involved with the making of the finished product. His connection to this film is entirely through that of the original screenplay, which Norman Earl Thomson then rewrote considerably. How much of the finished film is actually Ed Wood's is genuinely impossible to know. But the spirit, the dialogue rhythms, the mad scientist philosophies, the over-the-top emotional register of the lead character feels very Wood. One IMDb reviewer quoted what they identified as Wood-esque dialogue from the film. I refuse the word impossible. That is unambiguously an Ed Wood sentence. Wood died not knowing this film existed as a finished product under any title. He never saw what became of his Venus Flytrap script. Somewhere between the 1954 pitch to Ron Norman and the 1966 production in Japan, the script traveled a path Wood wasn't on. The film was actually directed, written, and produced by Norman Earl Thomson, born 1915, died 2000, a figure considerably less famous than Ed Wood and considerably more obscure than Kenneth Crane, the man he was mistaken for. Thomson was a pulp fiction writer. This is important context. Pulp fiction writers in mid-century America were the workhorses of commercial storytelling, churning out crime novels, westerns, mysteries, and science fiction stories on tight deadlines for paperback publishers who paid by the word. Yeah, I kind of figured that was the case. Thomson worked primarily under his pen name Earl Norman, and he was known for a series of paperback novels called the Kill Me In series. Kill Me in Shinjuku, Kill Me in Yokohama, Kill Me in Tokyo. Crime thrillers set in Japan. Japan was Thompson's territory. He had a connection to the country, personal or professional. The records don't make entirely clear. And it was his familiarity with Japan that positioned him to make a film of it. When he encountered the Wood screenplay or something derived from it, Japan was the natural location. He transplanted Wood's original mad scientist story into the Japanese landscape he knew and produced a film that is very much shaped by his pulp novelist sensibility. Thomson was not a trained filmmaker. He was not a Hollywood industry person. He was a paperback novelist who decided to make a movie, which explains a great deal about the rhythm and pacing of Venus Flytrap. The film moves like a pulp novel, establishing situation, building the confrontation, delivering the monster, but without the visual language of cinema to make those transitions feel organic. Scenes go on slightly too long. Dialogue does exactly what it needs to do plot-wise and nothing more. He is a legitimate mystery figure. Almost nothing has been written about him in the context of film history. The film's lead actress, Atsuko Rome, praised him in the one known interview she gave about the production. She said he made the process smooth, which for the first time actor in her acting debut is high praise. The shoot took approximately 1 month. Thomson is the answer to who actually made this film. He's not a household name. He's probably never going to be a household name. But he's the one.
It's a good thing that's so small. A big one could take an arm off.
Yes, it could at that.
The single most recognizable face in Venus Flytrap belongs to James Craig, and James Craig's face and the trajectory behind it tells a very specific story about Hollywood in the mid-20th century. James Craig was born James Henry Medore on February 4, 1912, in Nashville, Tennessee. He studied medicine at Rice Institute, now Rice University, in Texas, played professional football, worked as a debt collector, and then took a vacation to Hollywood in the 1930s and did what everyone who takes a vacation to Hollywood does. He decided to become an actor. He remade himself as James Craig, taking the name partly in hopes of landing a role in a film called Craig's Wife, and spent the late 1930s working in bit parts, serials, and B-westerns. And then something happened. He broke through. His first major role came when RKO borrowed him to play one of Ginger Rogers' suitors in Kitty Foyle, 1940, which earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. Then came The Devil and Daniel Webster, 1941, a supernatural fantasy in which Craig played Jabez Jones, a New Hampshire farmer who literally sells his soul to Daniel Webster. Then The Human Comedy, 1943, a massive MGM hit. And here is where the Clark Gable story comes in. Louis B. Mayer, the head of MGM, the most powerful man in Hollywood, noticed that James Craig looked and sounded a great deal like Clark Gable. Not superficially like him, but genuinely like him. The same rugged jaw, same physical presence, same deep voice with a slight southern drawl.
I've arranged for your hotel, and your luggage will be taken care of. Your pleasure.
Gable was MGM's biggest star. And in 1943, Gable had enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces. Mayer signed Craig to a 7-year MGM contract specifically to serve as Gable's stand-in while Gable was at war. Craig was promoted as the next Clark Gable. He was given leading roles opposite Lana Turner, Hedy Lamarr, William Powell, Ronald Colman. He appeared in films nominated for Best Picture. He was briefly a genuine movie star, not a B-movie gay, not a supporting player, but a legitimate above the title name at the biggest studio in Hollywood. And then the war ended. Clark Gable came home. Jim's biggest star was back in the building, and James Craig, as tactfully as possible, and the way these things are always done tactlessly, is no longer required. His career from the late 1940s onwards, the slow, familiar descent of a man who'd been positioned as a star and then had the position removed. He kept working. He was a reliable, professional actor who showed up on time and delivered what was needed. But the A-picture leading roles were gone. He moved through B westerns, noir films, television guest spots. By the 1960s, he was a working character actor rather than a star, taking whatever roles came his way. Venus Flytrap was shot in 1966, and Craig was 54 years old. It was made the same year as The Devil's Brigade, a legitimate war film in which Craig played a major general. Though he still had mainstream credits during this period, but he was also appearing in films like Bigfoot, 1970, which was funded by fans. The trajectory was what it was. Craig plays Dr. Alex Reagan in this film in what can only be described as full-throated commitment. Reagan is a man in the process of losing his mind, irritable, obsessive, prone to screaming at colleagues and subordinates at the slightest provocation. And Craig plays every scene at approximately 110% of the emotional intensity required. He yells, he broods, he delivers monologues to plants with the intensity of a man who believes every word. Whether this is brilliant acting or just Craig doing what Craig does by this point in his career is genuinely debatable. But it works for the film in a specific way. The movie needs Reagan to feel genuinely unhinged, and Craig delivers that unhinged quality without reservation. The Riff Track guys and their comedy commentary on the film describe Craig as looking and behaving like Richard Boone with a pencil-thin mustache. That's a perfect description. He's a big, loud, physically imposing presence who treats everything in his field of vision as either an obstacle or a nuisance. James Craig died of lung cancer on June 27, 1985, in Santa Ana, California. He was 73 years old. He'd been retired from acting for several years by then, having built a successful second career in real estate. Novelist Gore Vidal name-dropped Craig multiple times in Myra Breckinridge, 1970, describing the character's favorite movie star as the most romantically desirable man in cinema. There's a loving tribute to Craig's specific 1940s Golden Age movie star quality, the quality that made Mayer see him as Gable's heir. Craig probably never knew.
I'm glad you're driving, Dr. Reagan.
Atsuko Ron, Noriko Hanamura, credited as Ako Kami. The female lead is played by Atsuko Ron, a Japanese actress credited in the film as Ako Kami, the name discrepancy being one of this film's many small identity mysteries. Before Venus Flytrap, Ron had never acted. She was a model and a ballet dancer. Thomson cast her as Noriko, a Japanese scientist who becomes Reagan's assistant, his conscience, his connection to sanity, and eventually his only hope of stopping what he's made, and apparently gave her enough support that the experience was positive. In the one account she gave about the film, she praised Thompson's direction and said the process is smooth. Rome does surprisingly well with a character who is required to spend most of the movie doing two things: asking Dr. Bragan if he's okay, he's not, and looking alarmed at his behavior. She should be. The dialogue she's given is functional, but rarely more than that. Scenes with Craig are essentially exercises in Craig yelling while she reacts, and she holds her ground. She was, by most accounts, not a professional actress before or after this film. Venus Flytrap appears to be her only screen credit. James Yagi, Dr. Paul Nakamura. James Yagi was an American-born actor of Japanese descent who worked steadily in Hollywood television through the 50s and 60s, shows like Dobie Gillis and My Three Sons. He's the only cast member with a substantial body of work outside this film. He plays Dr. Nakamura, Bragan's colleague who suggests the Japan vacation in the first place, which means he's essentially the person who puts the entire catastrophe in motion.
It's not what I remembered.
It's what I'd forgotten.
I don't understand, Doctor.
Edward M. Shannon and John Stanley. Dr. Shannon and Dr. Stanley. These two characters appear in the film's opening NASA sequence and are played by men who are credited as Dr. Shannon and Dr. Stanley. Names that are so perfectly identical to their character names that the popular fan theory is that Edward M. Shannon and John Stanley were investors in the production, given small roles as a courtesy. Neither has other film credits of any significance.
Hotel.
Good. Watch out! Well, what the?
The Hunchback Caretaker. One of the film's most beloved recurring background elements is the Hunchback Caretaker of the mountain resort greenhouse, who appears without explanation and lurches around the property doing vague caretaker things. Every one of his appearances is accompanied on the soundtrack by a snippet of Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor, the famous organ piece associated with Gothic horror. Why? The film doesn't say. He's simply there, he lurches, Bach plays, the plot moves on. This is either the most efficient horror shorthand ever deployed in low-budget production, or it's a musical cue that someone found funny and just kept using. Either way, it works. Now, let's actually go through what this film is and does, because the plot has more texture than the skeleton script gave it credit for. We open at a NASA facility somewhere in Florida where a rocket launch is being prepped. This film was made in 1966. The space race was at full intensity. The Apollo program was underway, and American popular culture was saturated with scientists and rockets. The opening scenes place us immediately in that context. Institutional corridors, men in suits pointing at diagrams, the constant hum of America's effort to get to the moon. Dr. Alex Bragan is right in the middle of this world, and he is furious about it. He's always furious. He yells at colleagues. He snaps at assistants. A hurricane threatening a launch site makes him furious. A small administrative problem makes him furious. The film's first 15 minutes are essentially a sustained portrait of a man at maximum irritation level, contained within a professional context that barely contains him. His colleague, the patient and reasonable Dr. Nakamura, gently suggests that Bragan needs a vacation, specifically Japan. Come visit, get away. You need to decompress before you detonate. Bragan agrees, and on his way out of Florida, this is where it gets specific and perfect, he stops at a roadside stand in North Carolina, where a garrulous local sells snakes and assorted curiosities. Bragan is not particularly interested in snakes. They're growing on the property, in a marsh, are Venus flytraps. Real ones. The kind that are native to the Carolinas and almost nowhere else on Earth. Bragan takes a few samples, wraps them up, and takes them on the plane to Japan. Here is where the Ed Wood DNA is most visible. The Venus flytrap detour is a scene in a low-budget movie, but it's also a piece of genuine characterization. We don't need to understand yet why Bragan cares about coniferous plants. The moment reads as slightly strange. Random stop, an oddly specific interest. And that strangeness is what good B-movie screenwriting does. Plants a seed, forget the pun, and keeps moving. In Japan, Brigant is met by Noriko, Dr. Nakamura's cousin, who will serve as his assistant. She informs him that her father owns an abandoned mountain resort with a fully functional greenhouse, located near an active volcano, accessible via roads prone to rock slides. This is where Brigant decides to spend his vacation. A sensible person would go to a hotel. Brigant chooses the place next to the volcano. The resort has a hunchback. Bach plays. What follows in the film's long middle act, which is either hypnotically strange or tediously slow, depending on your tolerance for watching a large American man monologue at plants while a patient Japanese woman watches in a lawn. Bergen's theory, and this is genuinely the most wood-ish element of the entire film, is that human beings evolved from plants. Not that plants evolved to be like human beings. Not that there are plant-human hybrids. He believes the entire human evolutionary chain can be traced back to plant life, and that by grafting his American Venus flytrap to a Japanese carnivorous oceanic plant, he can create something that proves his theory. The humanoid plant, a living demonstration. Which, by the way, tales that terrify. I do stories. One of them is a story that's very much like this. A planet that they land on, turning everybody into plants. That's where they came from, or something. Very weird story. I have to see if I can find it. Throw it on the planet. But he believes the entire human evolutionary chain can be traced back to plant life, and that by grafting his American Venus flytrap to a Japanese carnivorous oceanic plant, he can create something that proves his theory. The humanoid plant, a living demonstration. He uses his own blood to feed the hybrid as it develops. He works in the greenhouse through storms and volcanic tremors. He becomes increasingly disconnected from the people around him. Enrico asks him if he's alright. He's not alright. This lightning scene, which is both the film's most visually memorable moment and its most straightforwardly Frankensteinian, comes when Bragan decides to use actual lightning from the actual storm to animate his creation. He runs cables, he climbs the mountain, he holds the equipment aloft during a thunderstorm near a volcano. The film commits completely to the absurdity of this. There is no hedge, no wink at the camera, no acknowledgement that this is insane. Reagan believes lightning will work, so lightning is tried. And then the film says something that has become one of the most quoted lines. Standing before his creation, arms wide, Reagan addresses the plant. Your father will be the lightning, your mother will be the rain. This is unambiguously one of the great lines in the history of bad cinema. It has everything: the pseudo-biblical cadence, the paternal grandiosity, the complete disconnection from anything a person would actually say. It sounds like it was written by someone who had read Frankenstein once, at speed, while thinking about something else. The creation grows, the creation develops, the creation becomes humanoid. And then, at 1 hour, 3 minutes, 46 seconds into the 94-minute movie, the creature appears. There are monsters in cinema history that are genuinely terrifying. There are monsters that are impressive. There are monsters that are memorable for the craft that went into creating. The creature in Venus Flytrap is none of these things. It is, however, one of the most endearing monsters in the history of the genre. The plant creature, named Sectivorous in the film, though some versions call it Insectivorous, is a humanoid being wearing a bulky green leaf and stalk costume with enormous flytrap-style appendages on its hands. The hands are the most important part. They are large, round, scallop-edged traps that the creature raises and lowers with the menace of someone doing a slow bicep curl at the gym. It moves slowly, very slowly, It cannot sneak up on anyone. It cannot chase anyone with the hope of catching them. It stands in place and moves its trap hands up and down. It's glorious. The riff track commentary described it as resembling a giant stalk of celery combined with a used car lot tube man wearing giant boxer gloves. This is accurate. The Rotten Tomatoes user reviews call it quite possibly the dumbest creature in movie history. This is also accurate. And also an endorsement if you love this genre. What makes the creature work as a cult object, despite or because of its construction, is the film's total sincerity toward it. The creature is not presented as comic. The film treats it as a genuine threat. Characters are frightened by it. Reagan regards it with the obsessive pride of a parent. The creature stalks its victims from a nearby village with the slow inevitability of a very large garden. He's decided to become proactive. The blood-requiring element connects the creature to the vampire tradition in an interesting way. This is not just a plant monster that eats people. It specifically requires blood to feed and sustain itself. Heart blood, as the film puts it, which gives it a quality more reminiscent of Nosferatu than any of the plant-based horror films. Reagan has created a creature that's not just physically threatening, but existentially predatory. It needs what humans have, it will take it. The creature's rampage through the village near the resort is the film's climax, and it has the specific quality of a dream sequence. The monster moving slowly through a landscape that's a little strange, lit strangely, the sounds of the night, screaming victims who could easily outrun the thing if they simply chose to walk at a slightly faster pace. And then, as in all such films, the creature turns on its creator.
Hey, you get him out of here and tell him to take that howling mutt with him.
Approximately 15 minutes into a film that has been entirely, almost aggressively wholesome, a sort of G-rated botanical fever dream, there's a scene featuring 4 topless women diving from a cliff into the ocean. The scene exists to provide the creature with its initial food source. Reagan obtains blood from an ocean creature that these women bring up in their diving, but the manner in which it's presented makes clear that this was not primarily a narrative decision. The camera lingers, the diving goes on for some time. The underwater footage is extended. The scene has been noted by basically every reviewer who has ever written about this film. It lands completely differently from everything around it. The film has been operating in one register, earnest, mad scientist genre picture, and the scene operates in a completely different register that is not fully integrated with anything else happening narratively. The best interpretation is that Thomson, working with a B-movie budget and the expectation from his distribution context that there would be some exploitation-friendly content somewhere in the film, found the most organic place to put it and filmed it. The worst interpretation is the same thing, just stated less charitable. Either way, it's there. The film doesn't explain it. The monster eats, indirectly. The plot continues.
An angile stimulus does not suffice. It normally requires the presence of the prey. Then a crushing movement begins and continues until the surface of both lobes press against the body of the prey. Digestion starts immediately. A digestive fluid more powerful than in humans. Now watch this.
Since the Ed Wood connection is the most famous thing about this film, and since Wood did not direct it, did not participate in production, and is not credited anywhere, it's worth taking a moment to think about what his actual legacy in the film might be. The concept is Wood's. A mad scientist using lightning to animate a plant-based creature. That's in the 1954 pitch. The Frankenstein template, the electricity is life force, the scientist whose obsession destroys him. These are standard Wood themes. I love Frankenstein. His hero, Bela Lugosi, was the definitive universal monster star. The idea of a scientist playing God and being consumed by what he made was Wood's core myth. The dialogue, the lines that feel most authentically Wood, are worth noting. I refuse the word impossible, that is pure red wood. In Plan 9 from Outer Space, the alien Euros explains that human beings are stupid for developing the solar by-night bomb. And Bride of the Monster, Lugosi's Dr. Vornoff declares that he was going to create a race of supermen. Wood scientists always speak with absolute unearned certainty about what they're going to do, and absolute outrage when the world fails to accommodate them. Reagan's emotional register, the furious wounded pride, the insistence that the impossible simply hasn't been tried correctly, fits perfectly in that tradition. The Japan setting is probably Thomson's. Wood's original screenplay was almost certainly not set in Japan. Nothing in Wood's background suggests that Japan would be a natural default location. Thomson moved the story to the country he knew and loved and had written about extensively. The creature design is certainly Thomson's production team. Wood's monsters in his own films were made from whatever was lying around. The rubber octopus that had to be manipulated by hand because there was no motor, the cardboard flying saucers. This creature is a costume, a proper physical production, which suggests a production with more resources than Wood typically commanded. What you're watching then is a film that carries Wood's DNA in its concept and in some of his dialogue, that has been transplanted into a context Wood had no connection to, made by a person Wood probably never met, featuring an actor from Wood's era but not his circle. It is an artifact of Wood's imagination filtered through someone else's execution. Whether it makes it more or less interesting is up to you. So let's fully explain the Mad Doctor Blood Island credit situation, because it's generally one of the strangest things to happen to a film in the history of home video distribution. The Mad Doctor of Blood Island, 1968, was a Filipino horror film directed by Eddie Romero and Jerry De Leon, produced by Kane W. Lynn, and starring John Ashley, Angelique Petijon, and Ronald Remedy. It is a completely distinct movie about a scientist experimenting on a volcanic island in the Philippines. It has nothing to do with Japan, nothing to do with Venus flytraps, nothing to do with anyone in Venus flytrap. The most widely accepted theory about how its credits ended up on Venus flytrap print is that at some point the two films were being packaged as a potential double feature, their subject matter overlapping enough, mad science, monster creation, exotic locations, that someone thought they went together. And in this process of that packaging, a print of Venus Flytrap ended up without its own opening credits, and rather than leave it titleless, Regal Video or whoever was handling the distribution simply used the credits they had available. This is the film distribution equivalent of going to the grocery store and accidentally putting your eggs in someone else's bag. Except that you then sold the bag, and the person you sold it to sold it to Mill Creek Entertainment, and you ended up with 50 movie compilations for the next 20 years. The wrong credits create a specific set of confusion problems. The director credit in the wrong credits list Eddie Romero and Jerry De Leon, neither of whom directed Venus Flytrap. This led some researchers to attribute the film to them. Other researchers, knowing the film was an American-Japanese production, assumed the director must be Kenneth G. Crane, the only other director who had made American-Japanese horror films at the time. His The Manster, 1959, is the other entry in this very thin genre. This is wrong too. The director is Norman Earl Thomson, neither Romero nor De Leon nor Crane. The cast listed in the wrong credits include John Ashley, Angelique Petijon, and Ronald Remedy, none of whom are in this film. This led to years of confusion when people tried to verify the cast against any other records. The title, The Revenge of Dr. X itself, appears to have been the Regal Video marketing title, invented entirely by whoever was selling the VHS, rather than being derived from any production document. No one in the film is seeking revenge. There is no Dr. X. The title was manufactured from thin air to make the film sound more exciting on a VHS shelf. The correction of the historical record, establishing that this is a Norman Earl Thomson film based on an Ed Wood script for James Craig and Atsuko Rome, filmed in 1966 and released in Japan in 1970, came through the patient detective work of film historians, bad movie fans, and the account of cast members Al Ricketts, who wrote a Stars and Stripes article about his involvement in the production that became one of the key primary sources of sorting out what this film actually was.
Norco, would you make arrangements for our rooms? I have something I want to do.
Certainly.
And please tell the bell captain to call me a taxi. I'm going to take a train to Tokyo. I'll call you as soon as I'm clear.
Dr. Reagan, don't you think it would be wiser if I start ordering the material you require? Our time is short.
Good. I'll meet you here for dinner about 7.
Uh-huh.
Good.
One detail from the production history deserves its own section because it's almost too strange to be true. According to accounts that have circulated in the film collector community, and these must be taken as somewhat anecdotal since the paper trail is thin, the film was discovered years after it was made in a warehouse, sitting on a shelf without opening credits. Not a damaged print where the credits were missing, a print that had apparently never been assembled with credits in the first place. This happens more often than you'd expect with low-budget productions of this era, especially international co-productions. The film gets made, paperwork gets lost or was never filed, the print gets warehoused, and a decade or two later someone finds it and has to figure out what they're holding. In this case, what happened next was rather than research the film, which would have required effort, time, and connections to the Japanese film distribution circuit, the print was packaged with whatever credits were convenient. And so the wrong movie's opening titles were attached to this one, and the confusion compounded for another 30 years. The fact that the film ended up preserved at all, even under the wrong name, even with the wrong credits, even in a blurry VHS dub that was then badly duped to DVD, is actually a minor miracle. Countless films from this era and this budget tier are simply gone. Venus Flytrap survived because it was weird enough, bad enough, and had just enough of an Ed Wood connection that someone found it worth preserving and distributing, even incorrectly. The Revenge of Dr. X, as it's still most commonly known despite everything, found its audience through the particular ecosystem of the bad movie fandom community. And it's worth understanding how that community works and why this film fits into it so well. Cinema Insomnia. Cinema Insomnia is a syndicated American television program hosted by Mr. Lobo, a horror host in the classic tradition of Zachary, Elvira, and Svengoolie, that it airs on independent television stations and online. On Halloween 2011, Mr. Lobo broadcast the film under the title Ed Wood's Venus Flytrap, giving it the specific framing of an Ed Wood cult object rather than a forgotten anomaly. Halloween 2011 was, for many people who discovered the film through that broadcast, their first encounter with it. The horror host format, where a character introduces and comments on B-movies, contextualizing the weirdness and giving the audience permission to enjoy the badness, is the ideal entry point for something like this. Mr. Lobo's presentation essentially told viewers, this is a cult object, here is why, here is how to appreciate it. Riff Tracks. On August 21st, 2012, Riff Tracks released a comedic commentary track on the film featuring Michael J. Nelson, Kevin Murphy, and Bill Corbett, the trio who were the core of Mystery Science Theater 3000 and who have continued in that tradition through Riff Tracks. Their commentary, released under the Revenge of Dr. X title, brought the film to a significantly larger audience. The Riff Track treatment is important not just because it exposes the film to new viewers, but because it performs a specific cultural function. It signals that this movie belongs in the canon of appreciable bad films. The MST3K Riff Track selection process has always been, implicitly, a quality curation. They pick films that have enough texture and weirdness and unintentional comedy to sustain feature-length mockery. A film that's just boring doesn't work. Venus Flytrap has enough going on, the Craig performance, the creature, the wrong credits, the Ed Wood ghost, the Japanese setting, the sustained commentary, and then some. The Riff Track's description of the film is worth quoting because it's one of the most accurate summaries. It describes the monster as a kind of thing that would be the most terrifying creature in film history, were every detail about it the exact opposite. Mill Creek's Chilling Classics. The Mill Creek Chilling Classics 50 movie pack, which this movie appeared in, deserves its own footnote. Mill Creek Entertainment built a significant business in the 2000 and 2010s on large multi-movie DVD and Blu-ray packs filled with public domain content. 50 movies, 100 movies, packed into sets sold at Walmart and Target for prices between $10 and $25, or 5 like mine, where I got mine. These sets were a primary way of generational horror fans encountering dozens of obscure public domain films simultaneously. The chilling classic set, with the wrong credit still attached to Venus Flytrap, was how many people first saw the film as part of a marathon of bad movies they bought on a whim. Encountering it sandwiched between other forgotten 1960s creature features with its bizarre wrong credits, its NASA opening, its yelling scientist, its volcano, its hunchback, and its glorious leaf-suited monster was for many viewers an experience of pure, delightful confusion that turned into genuine affection. The film is now freely available on the Internet Archive and YouTube, as it has been since at least 2011, under public domain status. Part of what makes this film work as a cult text is his dialogue, which achieves that specific quality of overwritten sincerity that characterizes the best bad movie screenwriter. Here are some of the lines that have achieved particular fame in fan discussions. I refuse the word impossible. This is Reagan's thesis statement delivered with absolute conviction. It's also a sentence that no human being would actually say. Real people say, I don't think that's possible, or that can't work. Reagan refuses the word itself. He has no use for impossibility as a concept. Your father will be the lightning, your mother will be the rain. Already discussed above, but worth repeating. This is the film's emotional peak. Craig sells it completely. The plant presumably absorbs this information and files it away. Unless I miss my guess, my creation is so powerful now it could devour anything. The scientist reviewing his work. The careful hedge, unless I miss my guess, preceding the grandiose claim could devour anything, is very wood construction, that anxious qualifier before the grand statement. These lines don't work in a film that's winking at them. They work here because Craig plays them without a hint of self-awareness. Because the film commits completely to Reagan as a serious character having a serious breakdown. And because Norman Earl Thomson, pulp novelist, pulp plot delivery engine, wrote dialogue that serves the plot without worrying about whether it sounds like what people actually say.
Bottom. They've been diving in these waters all their lives, and if the Venus vesiclosa is around here, they'll know, and where.
Well, why haven't you told me about this before?
Would you have listened before?
I guess you're right. I had to look for myself first. Well, how do you contact these?
That's the easy part. We'll contact them on the beach.
You contact them. Bring them here to me. I like to talk to people on my own terms, not theirs. Now, come on.
All right.
A brief but important note about where this film lives legally, since we are on a channel that cares about these things. Venus Flytrap, The Revenge of Dr. X, is in the public domain. This is confirmed by multiple distribution history sources, by the film's presence on the Internet Archive under public domain designation, and by the fact that it has been commercially packaged in dozens of multi-movie public domain compilations without dispute. The mechanism here is similar to other public domain films of this era. The film was not properly registered for copyright in the United States, or any copyright that was registered was not renewed within the required window. The film's international co-production status, split between American financing and Japanese distribution by Toei, further complicated any copyright chain. The result is that no valid U.S. copyright claim exists on the film. This is confirmed by film researcher Joe Blevins, who, in his extensive Ed Wood Wednesdays blog series, noted, the film has fallen into the public domain and is available freely under the completely inaccurate title, The Revenge of Dr. X. Watch it, share it, post it. Nobody can stop you. What is Venus Flytrap, The Revenge of Dr. X, actually a legacy of? It's a legacy of Ed Wood's prolific, unrewarded imagination. The dozens of scripts he wrote that were either never produced or produced without his knowledge or credit. The constant creative output of a man who never stopped working, even as the industry stopped recognizing his work. His original Venus Flytrap script sat unproduced for over a decade before someone in Japan with a connection to Pulp Fiction bought or licensed it and made something from it. Wood never saw what they made. It is the legacy of the American-Japanese genre film in the 1960s, a brief, strange moment when American filmmakers with access to Japanese locations and Japanese co-production money made creature features that sat between two filmmaking traditions and fully belonged to neither. The Manster, Venus Flytrap, a handful of others. This genre intersection produced films that felt genuinely dislocated. American dialogue and archetypes in Japanese landscapes, monsters that don't fit neatly into either the Toho tradition or the AIP tradition. It's the legacy of James Craig's dignity in circumstances that didn't honor him. He was a genuine Hollywood leading man who played opposite Ginger Rogers and appeared in two Best Picture nominees, and he ended up yelling at a carnivorous plant in a Japanese greenhouse while a hunchback lurched around in the background. He plays it straight, he plays it with his whole chest. That's what professionals do. And it's a legacy of the specific ecosystem of American bad movie fans. The people who find these films in warehouses, on VHS shelves, and in 50-pack DVD compilations and say, this is worth preserving. This is worth watching. This has value. The plant creature at the end of this film does not survive. Dragons, creation, lightning animated, blood fed, hunchback adjacent, the fruit of a theory that man evolved from plant life, is destroyed. The scientist's madness is ended. The mountain resort presumably continues to be impractical. But the film survived, under 6 names, with the wrong credits, misattributed to 3 different directors, found in a warehouse without any credits at all. It survived, and now you're watching. It's not nothing.
Word impossible. And you will also if you wish to continue with me. Damn.
Let me fix that.
It's nothing, it's only a scratch.
Even a scratch can be dangerous. Now, let me take care of it.
A bandage would get in my way. I have no time to waste. Excuse me, please. It looks more vicious than it is. However, don't you try it. The powerful digestive juices are the real danger. You'll notice I don't leave my hand in there long enough for them to start working. There is much more work to be done before our creation can be realized. Work, and more work, is all we can expect. All I can do.
It's finished?
I said that's all I can do.
I'll get you some coffee.
Thank you, Noriko. It's grown in the past 2 days since the operation.
How big will it get?
Big? There's no telling, really. We'll just have to wait. Our experiment is into the unknown. Big? Yes, the final answer's a long way off.
Will you be taking the cover off soon?
In all probability, tonight. The arms must not remain under the cover for too long a time. Needs the sunlight and the purity of rain. You heard the weather report?
It will rain.
Then you've heard the weather report.
I don't need to. In these mountains, it always rains at night this time of the year. Hot and black.
Just what I need.
You've been working too hard again. You must rest once in a while.
The success of my creation is all in the world that matters to me.
Can you succeed, Doctor, if you become sick and unable to work?
I'll be all right.
I will have breakfast ready in a little while.
This is all I need. I have no time for anything else.
You take so little time for rest. You should eat. You've got to keep your strength.
Will you stop harping on me? I am damn well old enough to look after myself. I've been doing it for a good number of years.
Yes, Doctor. No, Maria.
It does smell good. I'm sorry for the way I spoke.
Doctor, I am accustomed to your changing moods by now.
Would you permit me to join you?
I'd be most honored.
It was shameful the way I spoke.
No matter how busy a woman is, she always finds time to eat and to rest. A man, he is different. He finds his strength in other things. I'm sorry if I sounded like a nagging fishwife. It will not happen again.
No. You're not at fault. You owe me no apologies. No scientist in the world could ask for a better assistant.
That's very nice of you to say.
But I mean it. Never once have I had to repeat orders. Never once has anything been mislaid. If something was needed, you were the first to know where it was to be found. And who would have known of the Amas and their role in life?
Now you bring the red to my face.
A little blush never hurt anybody. But we must hurry. It will take us most of the day to prepare the serums for tonight's unveiling.
Yes, Doctor.
And Norco, please be sure and have a full bottle of brandy on hand. We may both need it before the night is through.
Karai-san. Brandy po onegai ne. No sooner said than done, as you Americans would say.
It must rain, it must rain. Everything depends on it.
It's early. See the clouds?
There's been clouds like those before, and thunder and lightning, and still it didn't rain.
It will rain.
You're always so damn positive about everything.
Since the operation. It's alive.
Yes. But for how long? So much depends upon the rain. Hey! Rain! Your mother was the earth. The rain, your blood. The light in your power.
Dr. Reagan, what happened?
I don't know. I was sitting here in the chair just looking, and I must have fallen asleep and toppled over and hit my head.
Are you all right now?
Yes, thank you. Light me a cigarette, please.
Yes, and some brandy for you. Brandy for bitte.
Hey! I'd forgotten how sweet your lip rouge could be.
Kawai will have brandy in a moment.
It's dying, isn't it?
Is it so important, Doctor? Nothing is so important as your own health.
I don't see how it could be dying.
There may still be some chance.
I don't understand what it might be.
We can always start over.
I must be back at the Cape in a month. I haven't time to start over.
Remember? You told me once you wouldn't allow the word impossible to be used.
I still haven't used it, and I don't intend to. I'll find the answer. I'm all right now, thank you.
Doctor.
What would you have me do?
Bury it and forget it. That's the best way.
Sure, it's always best to bury one's mistakes, I guess.
You did your best.
Apparently my best hasn't been good enough.
Aida! Something about the plant.
Oh, come on!
You've succeeded after all.
Last night it was dying.
You can't argue with fate, Doctor.
I wonder. Get out of here, both of you. Oh, wait. Have him get me some mice, rabbits, chickens, anything he can trap, and I want them now. In the meantime...
No, Dr. Reagan, you can't mean what you're thinking.
What am I thinking?
Rabbits, chicken, and mice, and puppies. I wish that thing had died. I wish it had withered away, and Kalai had buried it.
Get out of here, both of you, and take those damn mutts with you. Glandular count has the same count as the blood around a human heart. It's all there. You can move as well as you can feel. I know you can. I'll make you move. All I need is the blood of a human being to prove the fact. It will be proof without a shadow of a doubt that man is descended from plant life. I'll make you move. Those stumps, your legs. They're strong enough to carry 10 times your weight. It takes the blood of a human heart to prove my theory. You will have the blood of a human heart.
Revenge of Dr. X, Venus Flytrap, Body of the Prey, Akuma no Niwa, The Devil's Garden, The Double Guard. A film with more names than most films have scenes. A script written by Ed Wood in 1954 that spent over a decade unproduced before a pulp novelist in Japan turned it into a movie and sent it out into the world with someone else's credits on the front. A film featuring a man who was once promoted as the next Clark Gable, yelling at Cannabis Plant while a hunchback with a Bach soundtrack floats around through the background. A film discovered in a warehouse with no identity, given a wrong identity, and watched by millions of people who thought they were watching something else. A film that proved the worst thing you could do to a movie is lose it. Because even a movie this absurd, this gloriously broken, this completely insane, in its premise and its execution, deserves to exist and be seen. Father is lightning, your mother is the rain. Says Felix Lubezki. Rest out tonight. Stay weird. Like, comment, subscribe. Good night.
You wait. Just wait and see. Noriko, you should have more faith. Much more faith.
Something happened to Kawaii.
What happened?
That plant attacked him.
It's moved. What did you do to him?
Oh.
It's moved.
Dr. Braden, Kawaii did nothing to your stupid plant. It attacked him. This thing is a monster. You are no longer Dr. Bragan scientist. You are becoming Dr. Bragan madman. Give it up, please.
Don't be silly.
It's affecting your mind.
There is nothing wrong with my mind.
Give it up.
If that's all you can say, will you get out of here?
This is still my family's home. I'll go where I please. What's wrong with your hand?
I have told you. I wear this leather mitt as protection from a cut. Nothing more.
Oh.
Would you leave me alone for a while? Now, please?
Of course, Doctor.
You have moving room, a chance to spread out. appears something has happened to his dog.
That plant!
Well, that was my first thought. But the dog was tied a good 15 feet away from him. His arms couldn't have possibly reached that far.
Look!
I know I am right.
It's a monster, and it should be destroyed before any more damage can be done.
Destroy him when I know I've succeeded? He moved by his own volition. I know it.
How could it? How could a plant move?
I'm going to prove it one way or another tonight.
How?
I'm not taking my eye off him for 1 second. I wish you'd stay with me.
If you want me to, Doctor.
I do. I may need a witness.
Shall I make some coffee?
A bit later.
It's not moving.
It will. In time. Sleepy?
I wasn't, but now I'm not sure.
Sitting here talking, the next minute we're out cold. My creation! It's gone!
What?
Yes, I told you he could move.
Clark could have moved it. I'll go find him.
No, he didn't do it. It moved by itself.
It's carnivorous. If that thing gets to the village, there is no telling what it might do.
Anything might happen. The villagers. They might destroy my proof of the real basis of human evolution.
We've got to warn the people. We must let them know of the danger.
We must find him first. That's the important thing. Come on.
I'll get the car.
Hurry!
大きなモンスターが牛や鶏を殺して向こうの山へ行っちゃってみんなで殺してやるんだ。
It's been here, all right. They've seen it. The village is deserted. It has attacked the farm animals, biting and devouring them.
Do they know where it is?
They've gone to search it out and destroy it.
Unless I miss my guess. My creation is so powerful, but now it could devour anything. Yes, I must find it. It'll soon be dawn. It won't be easy. But now, trust me, I'll find a way. Yes. Now, you wait here. I mean, you stay here. Don't follow me. I must do this alone.
What are you going to do?
Destroy it. I will destroy my creation, my work of genius.
But how?
I don't know, but I'll find a way.
You're not going up there alone.
It's my creation. It's my place to destroy it. It has nothing to fear from me. Besides, no one else could get close enough to do anything effective. But I can't. I have to find a small farm animal.
Be careful, Dr. Bragan.
Thanks for everything, Norco. You stay here. If you stay, the villagers will stay. Stay. Norco, stay here. Safe place to continue our work. Where are you? Sector boys! Where are you? There you are. Come on, old boy. I won't let them hurt you. I won't let them hurt you. Take the goat. Take the goat. I'll lead you to safety. Come on, old man. Take the goat. That's it. Come on. Come on. Just follow me. Just follow me.